right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Samson Dauda. Your current 2024 Mr. Olympia beginning his prep for the 2025 Arnold Classic, looking to have the biggest payday in bodybuilding history for 2 shows. Just a reminder, Samson won $600,000 at the Olympia this year. The Arnold Classic in 2025 is paying out $500,000. So if he wins the 2 shows, which I think there's a very high probability he will, that's a $1.1 million payout just in prize money for 2 shows alone. That'll be the first time that's ever happened in bodybuilding history. And to be honest with you guys, I think Samson is going to go relatively unchallenged at this Arnold Classic. The official competitor list isn't out yet, but the deadline to submit an application is December 1st, so I think that competitor list will be out soon. But right now, the biggest name that we know is doing it, aside from Samson, is Andrew Jacked. And I know Andrew Jacked is great, all that stuff. I don't think he's going to beat Samson at the Arnold. We know that Hottie is not doing it. Hottie would be last year's defending Arnold Classic champion. Hottie would be Samson's biggest threat, in my opinion, and he's out. And I really don't feel like Derek's doing it. Derek's post just yesterday or 2 days ago, he referred to it as his off-season. I really don't see Derek doing the Arnold. He doesn't need to. He won the Olympia. He's qualified for life. Doesn't need to requalify, and hasn't really been a guy that does multiple shows throughout the year. I don't see Derek doing it. Nick Walker, maybe. We'll talk about Nick's physique update in a little bit. But honestly, I feel like Samson is going to win this show. With Hottie being out, I think it's going to be very hard for him to lose. And I think Samson has the potential to really start quite the legacy here. If he's able to continue winning the Olympia, and he starts off his Olympia reign with an Olympia and Arnold win back-to-back, and again, $1.1 million between 2 shows, just prize money. So if Samson is able to win these shows back-to-back, the Arnold and the Olympia, and he's somehow able to win a second Olympia title consecutively, I think he's off to the races as being the next guy, because not only does he have a crazy structure, he's got a ton of size. If he starts really bringing that conditioning and keeps winning the Olympia, I feel like he's going to be like the next legacy guy that wins more than one. Because think about how many years it's been since somebody has won back-to-back Olympias. Hottie did not. Derek did not. Brandon did not. Sean Roden did not. Rami did win 2. I guess I'll give Rami credit. But we're kind of waiting for the next guy that's going to win 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there going to be somebody that could be the next Phil Heath, the next Ronnie Coleman? So much of the Olympia's history has been a guy that's just reigned for the better part of a decade, and we haven't had that for the better part of a decade. Could Samson be that next guy? Winning the Arnold Classic and the Olympia back-to-back would be a fantastic start. And honestly, Samson is already the record holder for the most prize money won in a single year, and he's going to top that this year if he's able to win the Arnold, which I think he will. Like I said, Andrew is the biggest name that we know is doing it. Even if Nick Walker jumps in, I honestly don't think Nick Walker will beat Samson Dauda. And I'm sorry to the Andrew Jacked fans, I don't think Andrew will either. But I guess my question to you guys is, A, do you think Samson will win the Arnold Classic? And B, do you think he's going to win the Olympia again? And do you think he's going to be the guy that's able to go on for the next Olympia reign? Because we haven't really had a reign. I would say a reign would be 4. Let's say 4 Olympia titles. That's almost half a decade. Rami had 2. And before Rami, Phil was the last guy. And granted, Samson is a little bit older than the average bodybuilder that we talk about. Andrew is too, but Samson is 38, and he's going to be 39 right after the Arnold. So he's not the youngest guy. He got kind of a late start. So when we're talking about, Derek and Nick and Martin Fitzwater, these guys that are top Olympians, they're all like almost a decade younger than Samson, in some cases more than a decade younger. I think Hottie is 37, so he's like a year younger than Samson, but a lot of the up-and-comers right now are pretty significantly younger than him. So that's something to consider too. But I think the additional influx of money has got to be viewed as an advantage for Samson in his career, because he's got a lot more luxury to just focus on bodybuilding and really not worry about anything. He's got sponsorships, all that good stuff, but winning over $1 million in less than a year's time, really, how many months is it between the Olympia and the Arnold? October, November, December, January, February, March, less than 6 months. If he wins both, $1.1 million in just prize money, and then his sponsorships on top of that, and then I'm sure whatever other shows he decides to do, for a pro bodybuilder, he'll be on top of the world if he wins the Arnold. Money-wise, never happened before in 2 shows winning over $1 million. It's a good time to be a bodybuilder. So that brings me to the next story. The latest physique updates from Nick Walker back in his parents' basement for the classic OG basement lighting photo shoot. His current physique updates, a most muscular and a back double bicep. He's got a new coach, no longer with Matt Jansen, coming back from the hamstring injury. Now 2 consecutive Olympias back-to-back that he's pulled out of. I guess the main question for you guys is based on this physique update. Does he look like he would also be prepping for the Arnold Classic? Like I said before, I feel like with Nick, he needs to do something like the Arnold. Because with Nick, it's a little bit different. Nick had a ton of hype. He had a ton of just online support in general, just fan support in general. So Nick's goal for 2025 should not be just to get back to the Olympia. It should also include building back the momentum that he lost with, losing Matt Jansen, pulling out of the Olympia twice, and this most recent pullout from the Olympia not being, in a lot of people's eyes, a very valid reason. Nick has to also earn back some of the momentum that he lost. So he could go into 2025 and just say, well, I'll do a show like the New York Pro again or whatever other pro show, get my qualification, and go to the Olympia. But I feel like with Nick, that's not going to be enough to build momentum going into the Olympia, to earn back some of the, trust from the fans and support from the fans. If he did a show like the Arnold and he won a show like the Arnold and he beat Samson, we know Samson's doing the show. If he somehow beat Samson, who is your current Mr. Olympia, then Nick's name would be back in that conversation as a top guy. I think right now, I still consider Nick a top guy, but I think in popular opinion, since he's been out of the Olympia for 2 years now, he's not in that conversation anymore as a potential top 3. He's kind of fallen out of that conversation. So I think he's got to earn his way back in. And I really don't think doing the New York Pro would be enough, or doing a random pro show to qualify would be enough. And maybe Nick doesn't care about that. Maybe it's just about getting to the Olympia and proving it at the Olympia. Maybe that's Nick's strategy, and maybe that's fine. But if I were Nick, I would be thinking about the Arnold. Because you also can't discount the cash infusion that would be if he won the Arnold. And even second and third place are getting paid pretty good at the Arnold. But that $500,000, if he won the Arnold, for a guy that hasn't done the Olympia in 2 years, would be the most prize money Nick has had in 3 years. And I know Nick has had all kinds of sponsorships. I'm sure financially he's fine. But $500,000 for a guy that hasn't done the Olympia in a couple of years is a nice additional incentive for him doing a show like the Arnold. But I guess on the other side of that coin, if he did the Arnold, I personally don't think he's going to beat Samson. But imagine that he does. That would restore a lot of faith in Nick Walker's career. So when it comes to risk versus reward for Nick, when we're talking about the Arnold Classic, I feel like the risk of losing is less than the benefit of winning if he was able to beat Samson and win. If he loses, well, Samson's the Mr. Olympia. What did we expect? If he gets second to Samson, he still gets some momentum out of that. Not that big of a deal. But the benefit of him winning the Arnold, if he's somehow able to win and beat Samson, the momentum that would restore for Nick versus the momentum that he would lose from not winning the Arnold. I think that value proposition for Nick is so great that he should do it. Nick's momentum is already low, so I feel like he could only benefit by doing a show like the Arnold to show, A, that he's not scared, and B, like I said, the chance of him winning, if he wins, is like the biggest momentum boost possible for Nick. So I feel like, yeah, going into that show, he might not think he can beat Samson, and probably I think he won't, but I think the risk is low and the reward is very high if he's able to. He's beaten Samson before. It's not impossible for him to beat him again. And that's not to say that Nick couldn't beat Samson. If Nick comes back and his new coach has him looking better than ever, more conditioned than ever before, his midsection's in check, maybe he could beat Samson. And he has beaten Samson before. So maybe he could. I just think that so much of Nick Walker's story in bodybuilding has been the fan support that he had, especially early on, and his like online popularity early on. A lot of that is what made Nick Walker kind of the character that he is. And I think for him to come back and become that character again, he's got to win those fans back by doing a show like the Arnold, and win that momentum back by doing a show like the Arnold and potentially winning a show like that. And you guys can talk about this in the comments below. Do you think, I mean, this is just my opinion, but do you think if Nick does a show like the New York Pro again, or maybe even a show that's not as big as that, and that's how he wins and gets to the Olympia, do you think that restores any of his momentum going into the Olympia? Because I think momentum is a real thing in bodybuilding. It's something that I think if everybody is talking about you going into the Olympia as being a top guy, I really do think on a subliminal level that influences the judges. Not in terms of what your score is, but the judges are human. And if going into the Olympia everybody's talking about you, I feel like they're going to look at you more and give you a little bit more attention when they're watching these call-outs on a subliminal level. You're still going to have to look however you look, but I think going into a show like the Olympia, momentum does matter. Because let's be real, even if it was negative, who was the most talked about bodybuilder going into the Olympia this year? It was Samson, and Samson won. Now, I'm not saying Samson won because he had that momentum, but I think it was part of it. You just got to think these judges are human too. They watch this stuff. They look at these guys' physique updates. They see what people are talking about. And I think you can't realistically sit there as a judge and not look more at the guys that are talked about more than the other guys. It just is what it is. But like I said, you guys can talk about this in the comments below, but I would like to see Nick do the Arnold and try to win something big like that before going to the Olympia, to restore some of that momentum. And maybe, he, like I said, maybe he doesn't have to. He could win a smaller show and save, his peak package for the Olympia. But I think in Nick's case, it would benefit him to do something like the Arnold. And maybe he does. And like I always say, for me, I'm not a bodybuilding expert. I'm a bodybuilding fan. I'm a bodybuilding fan with a big bodybuilding fan channel. That's what this is. And as a bodybuilding fan, I think the moment that Nick really won me over the most as a fan, and the moment that I was most excited and the biggest fan of Nick, was when he won the Arnold Classic. That's when I think he had the most momentum from the fans. So when I say this, that's why I'm saying it. Because I think that was Nick's biggest moment in his career. Top 3 at the Olympia was great. But I think it was really when he won the Arnold that was his biggest moment for me as a fan. And that's why I want to see him do the Arnold again. Because I think that would be what's best for his career if he's able to win the Arnold again. And I think that's what Nick wants too. I think Nick wants to win back the respect and the support from the fans. I know he still has a lot, but I know he lost a lot too with the Olympia pullout, the Matt Jansen thing. I feel like he needs to kind of prove himself with a new coach on a stage like the Arnold before the Olympia. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That was a lot of rambling by me, but just what I think. Now, next up in the news, we do still have a competition this weekend. The last competition of the year for open bodybuilding. The last chance in 2024 for an open bodybuilder to qualify for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. And Akim the BK Beast Williams, looks to be the odds-on favorite to win that show, posting another physique update in the last 24 hours, a back shot, if you will. And I'll be honest, Akim has been around for a very long time. He was around when I first got into following bodybuilding. And these are some of the best, most impressive physique updates that I think I've seen from Akim in his entire career. Honestly, I do. The detail, the density, the muscle maturity that he's had for competing for as long as he has, the conditioning, which is something that has not been his strong suit. These updates that we've seen from Akim, even though he hasn't yet qualified for next year's Olympia, have been some of the most impressive that we've seen. And even though he was beaten by Rafael Brandao, still, I think this is one of the most impressive versions, if not the most impressive version of Akim that we've seen. And honestly, going into this weekend, he's the guy that I'm rooting for. He's the guy that I would like to see win. I want to see him at his best at the Olympia next year and have the whole year of 2025 to just focus on that. Because Akim, this is like the best I've ever seen him. He's got crazy size, and he's had that for years. But now he's got this level of muscle maturity where he's got all this detail, all these like deep sunken in granity lines. I think we're going to see something spectacular from him this weekend at the Bigman weekend in Spain. And by the way, I probably won't post tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving, so I hope you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. I probably will post Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if I'll post Friday or not. But like the day before the show, I'll probably post all the most recent physique updates and talk about all the guys that are doing the show and do kind of a preview video of all those guys. Then the day of the show, obviously, I'll cover the show. But right now, Akim, in my opinion, Akim is the guy. He's the guy to watch. I think he's most likely the favorite to win, and I think he looks just absolutely fantastic in these updates. And another guy, I think Horse MD has a real shot at being top 3 at this show. He's also posted some updates. I think he looked a lot better the last time that we saw him on stage than the previous time before that. And I think he might look even better here in the Spain show. But honestly, this is a pretty good lineup. There's a lot of guys doing this show. There's some really good names here. Like I said, Lewis Breed, I think might surprise a lot of people. So that's why I think we need a video just dedicated to all the top guys in this lineup, maybe the day before the show. But yeah, there's a lot of good names in here. There's a lot of guys that have placed pretty high recently. I like the way Horse is looking right now, though. And I liked the way that he looked in Prague. And obviously, you're not going to have Martin here. You're not going to have Chris Bumstead here. They were in Prague. I think Horse has a real shot at one of those top 3 spots. I don't think he's going to beat Akim, but I think we could see Horse MD at the top 3 at the Big Man weekend. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What are your predictions for this weekend's final show of 2024? Do you think Akim is going to win, or do you think somebody else on that list is going to win? I will put up that list right here again so you guys can give your predictions in the comments. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving if you're celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow. And if you guys are looking for supplements on Black Friday, I hope you guys check out whatever MUSCLETECH has for their Black Friday sale. Use my code or the link in the description box below for MUSCLETECH. And that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. Hope you get some good Black Friday deals. But as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, bell notification, all that stuff. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.